Hello and welcome to Glitch Cube, we're a gaming podcast, and each week we take a deeper look into the art of video games. As always, I'm Christian.
And I'm Chris.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us once again as we dive further into the world of games. This week we are doing it. Last week we talked about our honorable mentions. Since there's been so many amazing titles coming out this year, then we had to have a whole episode on games that needed to be talked about but did not quite hit that game of the year status that everybody is looking for at this time. You know, it's the end of December, of course, right? And the game of the war or video game awards just passed by, and you know, this is what everybody's doing, so we're doing it too. So we have our top games of the year. I don't know if I wonder, maybe we can try and like list off a game that we both think is just the number one game in total, but our lists are very different. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to go. But I have my top three available. I know you got some games that you want to discuss too. So let's just jump right into this guy. Maybe we can start off with one that we talked about a long time ago. It feels like forever ago at this point, right? And I'm very surprised when you're looking back. It's like, oh yeah, this did come out in 2023, but this came out January 19th. So it was one of the first games to come out in 2023, and that is A Space for the Unbound. This is definitely one of my top three games this year. This has been such an amazing title to play through. From the graphics, which I adored, the story was just so well done, the character development, just everything about this title I absolutely loved. It was so much fun to play through, and I'm just very happy that I actually played through the entirety of it. Where it went was amazing. Like the ending was just so impactful, and this was one of those games that, you know, it really tugged at your heartstrings. Like this felt like such a real story, and I loved the ending of it. Wasn't the classic trope of, you know, just a girl that needs help and only the man can help, right? So it was a really strong, impactful the way to do it, and it just the way it talks about depression and being different and just how to like move past all that. There's so much baked into this title that was just such a joy to play through. I adored this one. I kind of want to play through it again now. I mean, I feel like it's been so long since I played it.
Yeah, I was like, when I first played it, I was like, I feel like this is going to be on my top list. Like, I think it will be like up there. And throughout the year, like I would kind of think about it randomly because it was just, the story is so impactful, right? There's so many bits and pieces of it with so many different characters that you kind of get to learn and get to know. So it's like every little person can be somewhat relatable for different people. And every time I beat a game this year, I was always thinking back to it like, was this better than Space for the Unbound? Like,
right.
It's weird how I was holding this game up there for like, wow, this is my favorite game so far of the year. And I think it was that way until Dredge came out, and I was like, wow, this is the second best game I played this year that came out. And it's like, it was slowly like, I was starting to realize there were games where I'm like, wow, this is really good. This is just as good as it. But at the end of the day, it's like, nothing really came close for me. But the way this game handles a lot of subjects and does it in a very caring way, right? Like, we see a lot of games, well, I guess a lot of indie games are more friendly when it comes to like mental health, and
it's either they're friendly about it, they're afraid to deal with it, or they're very like ham-fisted with it, right? Like they're kind of just beating your head or beating it over your head with trying to get the point across. This one just feels like they did it justice, right?
Yeah, and they made it where it's like, oh, this person didn't just get randomly better from me giving them like a loaf of bread. Like, no, like we're going. Well, so the premise of this game is that, you know, there's certain people that you go into like their brain. It's honestly been so long since I looked into like their, I guess it's just your superpowers that you're able to go into their mind. And you're seeing what is ailing them or causing the issue of like, basically like these are like roadblocks in the story. And you do these and they're like basically like little mini games. And the way the mini games correlate to, either their trauma or their problem is that it's so well done. And when you finish it, you're like, oh my God, like it felt like you were actually helping someone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird because I've played a lot of indie games that kind of do this, but in different ways. And they always stick out to me. But this game did it in such a way that it just felt realistic. And I think there's more to it than that as well. Like the vibe of the game, right? It's set in 90s and is it Singapore?
I believe
Oh,
so.
Indonesia.
Yeah, that's close. Yeah.
So it's set in like the mid to late 90s in Indonesia, and it has that. It's weird because, you know, obviously I'm from America, but the playing this gave me like this weird wave of nostalgia. And even though, our landscape out here looks totally different than that, a part of me was like, it made me feel connected to it. And I'd never really felt that way about something that doesn't look like I ever grew up there. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, man, like it just felt so deeply cathartic, I guess, when I was
Mm-hmm.
playing through it. And I mean, the music really helps too. The music in this game is phenomenal. And, the art style is really good. Like it's the muted but bright colors really reminds me of like 90s like anime, like kind of like color palette a little bit. Um I felt like, I don't know why, but when I first played it, the art style kind of reminded me of like, well, I guess Eastward more so had this style, but like I'm gonna mess up the name, but the Tinkin Concrete,
Oh yeah, Tekken King Creek. Oh god, I
it
love
had
that
that kind of
movie.
like muted tones to it where I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh man, like this kind of invokes that same feeling, especially like watching that movie. I was like, damn, this is making me want to rewatch that, even though there's like nothing, nothing in common with it. But I'm like,
Well, they are
it's weird.
battling
Like,
like mental health in Tekken Concrete as well. I know, but it's more of like a subdued version of it. It's more like background, and you kind of have to look
yeah,
for it. But there's like I love Tekken Concrete, and actually the fact that you made that connection now, it makes sense that like this game does feel like that. I mean, there's a connection, there's a youthful spirit to it, and the fact that you don't just get better from you know, being depressed or things like that. It's not just a like you said, you don't just get a loaf of bread and now everything's bright and cheery again. No, it's like it's something you have to work at and get better at and learn through. And I feel like both of like that game and that movie have that aspect built in, which is really nice. Oh gosh, I need to watch
yeah.
Taking King Creed again.
And it's like, it's weird because without getting like in the spoilers or anything, especially with the ending, because like leading up to the ending, it's like just powerhouse on the emotions. But
Hmm.
the growth you see in the characters, like not even just the main character, but the other characters that you kind of help throughout the story, it's like, whoa, like you you come to learn why certain characters acted a certain way to you at the beginning of the game,
Hmm.
right? And then later on, you're like, oh, that's why they were mean to me. Oh, that's why they acted so weirdly. Like, it was so cool how you kind of felt like you were actually learning about these characters, even though, like, it wasn't, like, super in depth. But I guess maybe because they were all relatable. Like,
Hmm.
all these characters, in a way, felt relatable to people I've met in my life. And it's kind of a bummer that this game came out at the beginning of the year because I feel like by now a lot of people have either forgotten it or it's kind of unnoticed. And I
Right.
know that it was nominated in the Game Awards, which was cool. Like, I'm glad it was there because at least more people will see the name again.
Hmm.
But I'm like, damn, like it's sad that I don't see it thrown around more because this game is just it's fantastic. Like it's to me when I think of like one of those powerful indie titles with a story, like this is this year's game. And there were definitely a lot of like a few of these kind of games that came out this year, but this one just felt so polished. Like it felt in a lot of ways so well done with everything. I mean, even like playing fetch with the dog and like all these like little mini games to make it feel like you're actually living in this rural little town was just crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. If there's one game from like my list or of games I've played this year that I would tell anybody to play, it would definitely this would be one of them.
Yeah, this one's
Because I
not
know
like a
some
niche
people might
game.
not be into it, but
This is a game that anybody can play.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to be into shooter games. You don't need to be a strategist in like chess or things like that, right? Like this is a title that anybody can jump into and relate to.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. All right, what do you got for us next?
So when I narrowed it down to 3 for this episode, the number 3 on my list was very hard to pick between two games because both of them hit a spot on me that the other one doesn't and that most games didn't this year. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to merge both of these together and I'll just, briefly talk about them, especially because one of them you can't really talk about because it's just so out there.
Mm.
But so the one that's really out there that I've been really enjoying is Void Stranger.
Oh yeah.
This game kind of came to me as a surprise because of most of the games that I had looked at for this year to play. This one was one I wasn't really thinking of getting into, nor did I think it would be interesting enough to be like on a like game of the year list. But this game is fascinating. And I don't mean that like in a bad way. It's more so like I don't understand kind of what's going on. I kind of do, but I kind of don't. And it's like it's weird because like so the premise of this game is you're in this like tower or structure, and I know most people don't know what Sokoban is, but basically you have to like move a block in order to get to the next staircase to go down to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So in this
It's
game,
grid-based movement puzzles. So
grid-based movement, if you want to move left, like you turn left, but you can't turn on that same square. Like you have to go basically either 2 squares to the left and then turn back 1 to face right. Like it's not it it adds that challenge where you can't just turn around real quickly. Like you have to actually go around. But with that, you get a wand that can pick up one of these tiles and then move it over like an empty space so you don't fall down. And from my understanding, because I was the only thing I've looked up in this game is I was just like, how many floors are in this? And according to what I found, I am like just halfway, but I feel like with the halfway mark, there's so much I've experienced about this that's just kind of like confused me in such a it it's hard to really explain this game without really saying something that could spoil something. But what trips me out is that for me, like the save spaces, right? Like I think it was almost like 20 floors you had to get through. And then you pull up to a tree and it's like, do you want to rest? And you're like, yeah, sure. So it saves and it closes the game. And then when I booted up the next time, it had been like a day or two and I totally forgot what had happened. and it boots up in this totally different space.
Oh,
And
weird.
you're like in this situation, and then it ends up being a battle, which doesn't I wasn't expecting a battle in this game, right? And I was like, what the fuck is going on with this game? Like, it was so weird. I'm like, is this what happened when I left off? Like, I'm not that forgetful about stuff. And then after that, like, sequence, I'm warped back to that tree. And then you continue on. And as you keep going further and further, like, the puzzles actually get kind of difficult because instead of just being normal tiles, there's tiles that are blocked by rocks. There's tiles that are glass that break after you step on them. There's
Mm,
monsters, and the timing of the puzzles and everything just it makes me feel smart when I accomplish one that's actually kind of challenging.
mm.
And if this game has already like kind of in a way blown me away at the point that I'm at, I'm like, I can't wait to see how it ends because I've luckily avoided spoilers, but I've seen people like talking about it. And most of the people that have finished it are like, oh my God, this game's amazing. Like, it's apparently there's a whole lot more to this game that I haven't seen that I'm like really curious about. And I also kind of hate that, when you save and it closes, it's like knowing that there's going to be an interesting scene when I boot the game back up. I'm like, I just want to keep playing.
That's pretty
But
cool.
to me though, because even though I love puzzle games, this game can be kind of tiring because there's so many goddamn puzzles and floors between the save trees that I'm like, oh my God, like I need to like step away for a minute.
Mm.
But the
It'll
game is
keep
really
you, then you
cool.
have to redo all those puzzles and floors, right?
Yeah, I haven't tested it if you can just kind of exit, but I don't want to risk that either. So
Right.
I'm like, this helps me progress. I'll get down another 20 floors and then take a break. It's actually in a way kind of perfect because it's like, oh, I hit the tree. I guess I can get off for the day.
Mm.
Like, it's this would be the perfect game for like a Switch, right? Like, pick up, play, put it down, right? Um but yeah, like I this year had a lot of good puzzle games, and it it's kind of made me interested in puzzle games again. That I always have liked them, but between like Viewfinder, this, and a little bit of Talos Principle 2, and some older puzzle games I played this year, I'm like, man, I already told myself I want to go back and play a lot of old RPGs next year, and I'm like, damn, now I kind of want to play some older puzzle games too. But
It'd be fun to play through some, like, especially the puzzle games that have like a more in-depth story to them or something like that. Or the
yeah, even like The Witness. Like,
Mhm.
I've never played The Witness, even though people have told me to. But there's that. I want to play Myst. Like I want to like try some
That
of the
is
older
one
stuff.
series that I definitely like. I've looked at and I've always seen it as a kid, and as a kid, I always thought it looked kind of boring. But
Yeah.
right, like, but I would love to go back now as an adult and see if maybe my tastes have changed because it is an iconic,
Yeah.
memorable game. Like that is a legendary title right there. That's one that just started a genre, right, and like really propelled it forward. And there's been so many missed games that there has to be something to it. So yeah,
Yeah. People
that's a
always hold
curiosity
that
one.
up there for like this was like a big success story for like an independent developer, and I'm like, oh, I kind of want to check it out. And that box art always was really cool as a kid.
Yeah, the artwork behind it is phenomenal, and that's what always get me. And then I would look and I'm like, oh, it's just still images, and then I would just like stop. Like
Yeah, you're like,
I don't
oh,
know. Like as a kid,
you're just walking,
yeah, as a kid I was just like, oh, whatever. But now I think I would actually enjoy that. That's funny.
But going in a different direction. So the other game that I've actually really fallen in love with the more I play this game, and kind of has the same premise in the sense that you're going through different floors, but El Paso Everywhere or Elsewhere, my bad.
Hmm.
It's basically Max Payne.
Mm.
And as someone who really, really, really loved the original Max Payne back in the day, I've always wanted more of it. And it's oddly enough, if you look around over the years, there hasn't really been anything like it, right? There's nothing
Mhm.
with the the jump dives and the bullet time, like nothing really done well. This game does it perfectly. And it's also in a lot of ways
You must have
this
not
ties
played
into
Time
the next.
Splitters then. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, you
Just
heard
kidding.
about the news about Time Splitters, right?
No, I didn't.
So Embracer closed the studio down because they were going to reboot it.
Mm.
But that studio is no longer around.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer. Time Splitters is another game I really want to play. I remember playing a little bit back in the day, but I never.
Yeah, I never finished it, but I definitely played through a little bit, and like the action is just insane. Like there's so much going on.
Yeah, I need. That's one I really need to check out too. But this game, like, it's interesting because you look at it and you're like, oh, this is kind of low poly. Like in a lot of ways, it reminds me of like PlayStation 2 kind of like era graphics,
Yeah, that's
like
what it
in
looks
that.
like. Yeah.
And the inner dialogue is done so well, surprisingly. And the voice acting is actually really good too. But you are going down these floors to find your ex, who is a vampire. And your character has some issues, right? He's a pill addict, and it becomes more apparent as you're going further down. But what's weird about this hotel that you're in, you realize as you're going down the floors, you're like, there's no ceiling. Oh, there's weird stuff in the background. And the further down you go, the stages just get crazier. And you know, thinking about the next game I'm going to talk about, which it'll be obvious after bringing this up, but with like Max Payne and like the whole Remedy verse that's going on, and I feel like with the original Max Payne, there wasn't too much Remedy weirdness. I feel like that didn't really exist until Control kind of came around,
Hmm.
but like the weird surreal stuff, I feel like it was there in Max Payne, but wasn't overboard. And I feel like this game takes that and throws it in that Max Payne kind of gameplay, and it's just so good. It feels like a game from the early 2000s, even with the music. Like the music is has some new metal in it. It has some rap. It has just rock. Like it has a lot of like cool music, and the gunplay is fun. And I mean, yeah, it can get kind of samey on some levels, but I just got to a new floor that totally changed the whole kind of layout, and you're like, oh my god, like there's a new weapon, there's a new floor, like it's
Mm.
just it's kept me hooked where I'm like, oh, I want to keep going. And this is a game also where I was like, how many floors are there? Because I feel like I've spent everyone's like, oh, we beat this game in like 6 hours, 7 hours. And I'm like, I'm kind of approaching that at this point. I'm like looking at how many floors are in this game. I'm like, oh my god, I'm like just over halfway, but I'm like almost the same amount of time as most people completed in. So I'm like, I've been enjoying it though. Like
Right. They're just
this
they're just
game,
rushing through. You're exploring every nook and cranny.
it's weird because it's not like there's stuff to find. It's just like I really like this atmosphere, and this game kind of surprised me. Like I played it during one of the Next Fests, and I think I remember talking about it in one of the episodes too.
I believe
And I
so.
was like, oh, I was thinking about it like, oh man, I really like this game. I can't wait to play it when it comes out. And I didn't realize it had came out. I think it came out in October or early November. And I was like, oh my god, I need to play this. And yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with it. But yeah, those two games I feel are tied for my third place when it
Nice.
comes to like obviously my games are not in any order of which one I think are better
Right.
over each other. I think even with last episode, a lot of those games, like, they could easily be talked about in today's episode too. Like, I feel like this year I've had a good amount of games played where I'm like, These are all been pretty awesome. It's been a good year for like the games that have come out, you know.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. 100%. All right. So my next one, and like you said, there's no particular order to this because it can kind of, I mean, they're all. I feel like my three games are very different, and so they're like number one in their own specific categories or for what they
Mm.
did, right? And so the next one I want to talk about is actually a DLC pack. It's the Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty DLC, and this DLC was it's basically its own damn game, right? Like it's huge. There's so much going on. They introduce so many new characters, so much different plot lines. It even adds a new ending to the game itself. And I absolutely loved my time with Cyberpunk. I love the environment, just the settings themselves, the character designs. Like every character I actually like gave a crap about. They did such a great job with that, like the interactions you have with Songbird and trying to save the president and everything. And I mean, come on, freaking Idris Elba in there, right? Like they did such a phenomenal job capturing everything and making you actually care about the situation that's going on. You feel the weight and the gravity of it all. And who doesn't love like the premise of Phantom Liberty is just so amazing, and it you are living through like Escape from New York or like classic action movies. Like it's nuts. So like a plane comes crashing down in Dogtown, and guess who's on it? The president of the United fucking States. And you get reached out to by Songbird to try and help the president escape Dogtown, right? And like Dogtown is nuts because it's basically no man's land. There's no real laws. There's a separate faction that is in charge of Dogtown specifically, and it's basically just martial law in this small area. I say small, but it's rather big. But it's like in the middle of this whole city. There's Dogtown, which is just total martial law, and people just know don't go there, right? Like unless you want to get into a fight, unless you are trying to do something real shady or whatever it is, you don't really mess around in Dogtown, right? And it shows because Dogtown is hostile as hell. Like everything there wants to fight you. So at all times, you are basically looked at as being suspicious. So you have to really think about that. And I had to reload to save at one point because like I hopped out of I jumped out of a building, and this guy, which I didn't realize was an enforcer at the time, shot me. So I just killed him real quick. And then all of a sudden, I had like I kid you not, it felt like I had like 50 people swarm me all at the same time. They had like cars, artillery, all this stuff. There's a helicopter. I'm like, holy shit. And then I got like a notification saying like most wanted man in Dogtown. I'm like, oh my God, the entire city is red. Like everything is coming out to get me. So that aspect was really cool to see all that. But I think what really sold me on it was the story itself and how many twists and turns and how many different possible ways you can play through Phantom Liberty. There's a lot of choices that you can make in there to actually change the overall outcome of the entire thing. And there are ways in which you can actually lock out the ending from Phantom Liberty that gets added into the ending of the main game itself. So the way it all ties in is very well done. Like it is a alternative to V's problem. They give you a way out, another one, and it kind of felt perfect because at the time I was playing it, I got right up to the point of the normal end game, right? Where you can go through the main ending that was already presented beforehand and all that good stuff, right? But this gave me another option. Now I had two choices that I can go down, two branching choices. And what I really enjoyed about this was the furthering of the connection with Johnny Silverhands, right? Keanu Reeves' character in this. He was already like at first he was annoying me, and then he really grew on me, and then I started to kind of care about the character. But then with Phantom Liberty, you have more conversations and it feels more genuine, and you can tell that Silverhands doesn't want you to die either, but he doesn't want to take right. Like you get more of that feeling out of it all, which is really nice. And the ending for it, I don't want to spoil it too much, but you have a very like a major heart to heart with Johnny, and he
Hmm.
doesn't 100% want you to go through this because he knows that it means the end for him 100%. Right? Like it's kind of he's scared and he shows his genuine fear, which I really it just made him more human, made everything just a little bit more believable. And what was nice too is like this DLC just has legendaries everywhere, which is really cool. I mean, who doesn't want a legendary weapon or gear or whatever it may be? They add in new gear as well, like new equipment that you can wear, like helmets that boost your hacking skills and stuff like that. And you look like an actual like robotic hacker. It looks pretty trippy, but they added in a lot of really cool like little touches like that. So this DLC is basically a game all on its own. And the fact that it dropped with the 2.0 release of Cyberpunk, which stabilized everything, and then you get this on top of that, like it just made my experience with Cyberpunk that much better. And yeah, I love this one. There is so much built into this. It's so good, so much fun to play.
I really want to play it. I played Cyberpunk when it first came out, even when it was really broken,
Mm-hmm.
and I honestly really liked it back then. I understood why people were mad, right? It was just like No Man's Sky that it was promised all this stuff and most of it wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I still really liked the story and everything about it. And then when the 2.0 came out, I was like, "Oh, I'm going to play a little bit of this, not totally start the game because I had finished it, but I had liked everything they had changed." And then I had telling myself, "Should I get the DLC?" Because I'm like, $30 for DLC. I'm like, oh, like
It's steep,
after
but
now
it
seeing
yeah.
how long it is, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
It's worth it, you know."
Yeah.
But and the way you talk about it, I'm like, oh, I definitely want to play it, because I enjoyed the story enough, and when I first played it, I kind of hated Johnny Silverhands for
Mm-hmm.
some weird reason. I was kind of like, he's kind of annoying,
Yeah.
but
Well, they make him
as the
a,
game
a
went
a
on,
prick in the beginning, and they make him feel like he's heartless and he doesn't give a shit about anybody. But
mhm,
the fact that like you're probably gonna dive into it, but like that it's just a mask that he's wearing, right? It's
yeah,
yeah.
he becomes more real, and his ego just goes smaller and smaller. And if the DLC shows more of that, like I'm very interested,
Mm-hmm.
and it's cool how they've like reworked like the police system in that because it used to be pretty bad. Like that really was like one of the worst parts that I remember playing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, everything I've heard about this DLC has been just crazy. I mean, I've been seeing it on people's lists too, where it's like, you know, oh, they're actually including this as like they're almost treating Cyberpunk as a whole new game, which in a lot of ways I could see that because not just graphically, but gameplay and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
this DLC being longer than a lot of other AAA games, like it just makes sense. And it's definitely, I think, I mean, your next game is also another one I need to play.
Yeah.
But I'm like, maybe I should bump out this DLC because I'm like, I'll get this one done faster,
Yeah, it's like a quick 10 to
But
15 hours that it adds in, so it's not too bad. But, I mean, an extra 10 to 15 hours in Cyberpunk is not a bad thing, and that makes it feel like that $30 price tag is not too bad, right? Because there's plenty games out there that are 7 hours, that are, $30, $40,
yep.
or even 60 sometimes for right? Like, I mean, look at the Titanfall 2 campaign, that was 3 hours. Like that was
Yeah.
nothing, which is upsetting. But it's funny that we have become okay with shorter games costing the same amount as they're costing $60 when that's insane to me. And then you get games like like Cyberpunk that added. I think I played maybe close to 60 hours in Cyberpunk.
hmm
Since in my opinion, for an action game, that's pretty damn long. Like, but there is a lot I could do. So I could keep diving into it and do every single side quest and everything, which I didn't do every single one, but I did a lot. But yeah, no, Phantom
Yeah,
Liberty
I
feels
think
like a brand new game.
I think I had ended up clocking like 60 hours in it because I had done pretty much all the side quests, or I thought I did. When I booted it up recently, I was like, oh my God, there's still a bunch that I haven't done. Because it's like, once you beat the game, you go back in it, and I think it warps you to like the mission right before.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, there's a bunch of side stuff I hadn't touched. And I was like, oh, were those added like post launch?
There was
But
some that got added with the 2.0 release, and then there's even more that get added in with the
because of the
DLC as
show.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. And that game, the other thing that really made me spend more time with it was just how beautiful it is.
Oh yeah.
Like, I have always loved the cyberpunk aesthetic, and I feel like a lot of games don't. They're very generic, right?
Mhm.
Neon lights, all that kind of stuff. Like, it's cool, but this game did it in a way where I was like, wow, this is actually really beautiful to walk around in.
Mhm.
And that's the other reason why I'm like, oh, I want the DLC just so I have another excuse to like see a new area, because I get it. A part of me is like, oh man, I hate that half the map is like a desert because I want more cool structures, cool buildings. But when you look at the size of the city, it's like, oh no, there's still a whole lot there.
It's
Like,
massive, man.
and going back to one of our past episodes, the introspection, like being in the taxi cab and hearing that, and just, I guess they added like a metro in there now too, like a few days ago.
That's crazy.
Um, it's cool. Like, I think as more time goes on after this released, I'm like more and more interested in it. It's like, at first I was like, when this DLC came out, I was like, oh my God, I'm like juggling so many other games right now. And now that my like stuff is kind of clearing up, I'm like, oh, this game does sound good.
Mhm.
So I might actually check it out soon.
Yeah, and the revamp of the leveling up system is amazing too. The skill tree is much better now. Stats actually make sense, right? Like, because before it was, oh yeah, level this up and you get a 0.02 increase to handgun fire rate. It's like, really, that's nothing, right? Like that number
Yeah.
means that doesn't mean shit to me at this point. But no, like the upgrades actually feel like they do something now, and it's pretty cool to figure out how to spec your character out. So yeah, it's a good one. All right, where are we heading to next? What do you got?
So for my favorite game that I've played this year, and I know I've talked about it too. Um, I remember when I was in that solo episode, I think I was just finishing it, and
Mhm.
I didn't really get to talk about my final thoughts on it, but I still think Alan Wake 2 is my most favorite game I've played this year,
Nice.
especially narratively. Um, to me, this game is almost 100% perfect.
Mm. It says a lot.
The the things in it that don't make it 100%, they're minor. I could easily look past it. I do see other people also give this criticism about it, so I know I'm not alone in
Mhm.
this thought. But the combat is kind of lackluster, and a part of me gets it because, the combat's not the important part of the game.
Mhm.
The narrative is, but
Well, that was a complaint
when
too from the
you
first one as well, right? Like the combat felt weird.
yeah, the first one felt weird because it was just like, you gotta shine your light, weaken them, and then you can shoot.
Mhm.
And there'd be times where you're just getting swarmed in the first one. And I recently played the first one to completion.
Mm.
And, in the end, I liked it. Like, I liked what was there. It definitely did feel a little dated, but it was still like interesting. And to see how this sequel connects a lot of Remedy's other games into it, it was kind of awesome,
Mhm.
actually. They So they're older games like Max Payne series and Quantum Leap aren't connected to this, but all of the Alan Wake, the first game, the DLCs, and Control are connected to this.
Mhm.
And throughout the game, you start seeing how they are, right? With obviously Alan Wake 2, or the first one, the ending, this is right after it.
Mm.
The DLC in Alan Wake 1, the American Nightmare, where you experience kind of like the main antagonist, Mr. Scratch. He's in this game too. And then with Control, because that game deals with the, you know, paranormal and supernatural, obviously they're going to be in this game too, especially with that DLC connecting to it.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because it feels so crazy to have played these games and see how they connect in not just the obvious ways, but even super small details where you're like, oh my God, like they connected this to that. Like it's so fascinating. And as someone who's a big fan of Twin Peaks, like this game does nod very heavily to that
Mhm.
and does it in such a way that, you know, a lot of people will look at Deadly Premonition as like the Twin Peaks game, which in a lot of ways it is. But this game really, I feel like, just is like a love letter to it in a lot of ways. And, you know, looking back at what I was saying about the gameplay, like, yeah, the combat is kind of like tiresome, but the story and just the exploration just make up for it. The beautiful visuals of walking through the forest when it's not super scary at night,
Mhm.
right? When it's kind of sunny or kind of rainy and foggy, like it just feels so real. And playing with headphones, you hear the sounds, you feel like a oneness with the surroundings. And like there's one map called Watery where it's like there's this coffee amusement park, a lighthouse, and this little town on the water. And at one point in the game, that whole map gets very foggy, and the way the fog layer comes in, where it's like very hard to see,
Mhm.
like think Silent Hill 1, but like
Oh god.
where instead of making up for like graphical weakness, this is like, no, this is just a thick fog, like good luck.
It's not just a
And
gray
it,
wall. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, dude, this is amazing. Like it felt so good. And at times, like it was very freaky. And for better or for worse, because I've seen some people complain about this, it really does take a lot of the the core mechanics of early survival horror, like PlayStation 2 era, in the sense that the puzzles, the I guess gameplay too, it feels a lot of that era.
Mhm.
Which, you know, for me, I like that era of horror games. But some people feel like it's kind of like a roadblock in a sense.
Mm.
But the it doesn't really get in the way too much. But with the story, it's hard to really get too into it without like kind of spoiling something about it, because it really does go a lot of different ways. But the the parallels between Alan and Saga is that he's stuck in this like dark kind of like New York kind of like city block, and it it's gorgeous, right? Because it's just a small area, they can really make it look good. And
Mhm.
it's just the lights shining off the water and the creepiness of the subway system. It's interesting because there's like these echoes kind of sprinkle around the map that when you look at them, the detective, uh it's a like FMV playing in the it's weird to describe this because it's not playing in front of, say, the building you're looking at, but it's like a very like, imagine if someone is aiming like a projector at a wall, but it's not flat.
Mm.
Like it feels like that person's walking. Like to me, this game is showing the evolution of what an FMV game could be.
Right.
And I think that's what sold me on this game when I first saw trailers on it. Because when I first heard about this game, I didn't have any interest in it. Because I mean it's Alan Wake, right? Like
Hmm.
it always was kind of clunky to me, and I was like, I mean it'll be cool, but it won't be that crazy. And then
Right.
once I started seeing like how a real actor gets blended in to actual like 3D, you know, like a 3D game,
Hmm.
it felt unreal. Like it really felt like this is the evolution of blending reality with 3D. And in a lot of ways I thought like say Kojima would do something like that, cuz I feel like he is the person that wants to create live action with 3D.
Yeah.
But this game did it in such a way that if people were to look at games as cinema, and a lot of people do with Sony properties, this game feels like cinema in
Mm.
that it's just so well done. And the story is really interesting and fascinating. And I feel like you kind of understand what's going on pretty early. It's more so there's a lot of twists and a lot of things you don't understand until obviously later on in the game. But it was enough to hook me. Like, I didn't play anything else. I basically played like, I think I beat it in almost like 2 days, maybe 3 days, because I was just so into it.
Hmm.
Um, and it's not that short. It's like, I feel like I spent 15 hours in it,
That's not bad.
maybe
Yeah.
almost 20. Yeah, like in a lot of ways, it was the perfect length if you weren't trying to like get lost. Like I was able to 100% it, and yeah, to me, it's a game that I would love everyone to experience just because of a lot of the ideas that are put forth.
Hmm.
But I also know that it's not a game for everyone,
Right.
either it being too scary or too slow, I guess.
Mm.
But even just watching a video and seeing the fidelity and a lot of the work that went into this game, it's like I it makes me excited for the future of games if more games do this, especially like AAA. Like if they go all out like this game did,
Hmm.
I'm excited.
Yeah, no, it looks amazing, and it's definitely a game that's on my radar. Have not checked it out yet, but definitely want to. So yeah, especially after hearing you talk about it, like yeah, it looks phenomenal. And just watching some gameplay of it, seeing how in one area you walk into a room and you happen to go through a door and it puts you right back out on the street. And it's like, oh, like that was a trippy twist, right? Like how the game loops you back and forth and jumping between these two like alternate worlds between both characters and stuff. Like it's very interesting. So yeah, I'm very very curious about this one. Definitely will be checking it out. All right, so my final list for me, and it's gonna come as no surprise, and I won't go too far into it, right? Because I really want us to do a full episode on this one. I just need you to
Yeah.
beat it, But Baldur's Gate 3. I mean, this one was on everybody's list, and it's no surprise at all. The From the voice acting to the storyline to the visuals, this game really surprised me with how many people were into it, right? Like it is I would typically think that this gameplay style is not for everyone, but the way that Baldur's Gate 3 made it so easy for people to dive into. I mean, I'm not too surprised because Divinity was such an amazing game as well, and it had a lot of great, or a lot of people really love that one. But Baldur's Gate hit a whole nother level where there are so many people who have not played this style of game and are really digging it. And it's even opening up more paths of like people really being into Dungeons and Dragons now, right? Like it's making it more mainstream, bringing it to the front of the conversations, and I just had a blast with it. The sheer amount of customization you can do in this game is insane. What you can do with your party members, and the fact that you can solo this and kill everybody or do whatever you want to do, right? You can even dark urge this thing. Like, there's a lot to it. There's a couple different possible endings that you can do as well. Like, I really, really enjoyed this game. I sat through, and I usually, with games, every once in a while I'll play a game and then, kind of bounce back and forth between a couple depending on what mood I'm in for one. This one I played constant. This is the only game that I was playing because I was like, I need to beat this title. I need to continue and I need to beat it. And as soon as I finished it, I was like, oh, so what am I going to do for my second run through? Right? Like, I was already thinking about that, of like, what can I do differently? And just the sheer amount of ways that you can tackle a problem is really interesting. Like, very early on, one of the first things you have to do is encounter the goblin encampment and figure out how you're going to deal with that. Because the goblins and the druids are basically fighting, and you kind of have to pick a side, right? And you could side with the goblins or you can side with the druids. It depends on what you do, right? Like, your actions really do mean something in this game. And NPCs will remember that, and they will help you or not help you. And actually, like, the ending of this game is crazy because the connections that you make throughout the game do come back, and in a very interesting way, in a very really cool way, and it makes it that much more like cinematic and epic, and just it makes the scale of the final parts and the final fight that much greater. And it's really cool to see a lot of NPCs coming back and stuff like that. So luckily, I mean, I consider it lucky. I did go for a normal, like, kind of good playthrough. So I had a lot of actual NPCs that wanted to come back and help me out in the end, which was really great. But yeah, it was a really, really amazing time playing through this one. And just the there's so much. There's so much. And I feel like I did a lot, but at the same time, I feel like I could have done even more, right? And yeah, this game does fall into it, and the probably the biggest complaint about it is that Act 1 is astronomical, and then Act 2 is good, and then Act 3 is a fun playthrough, right? Like, it seems to kind of taper off a little bit, but the ending itself, I think the scale of the final part is, it kind of makes up for all of that. And I don't know, even though the path wasn't as clear in Act 3 of exactly what to do, and it didn't feel like there was any time constraints really anymore. I still had a blast just exploring the city itself. And one of my biggest things that I really enjoyed was the fact that NPCs felt like they were alive, that they had a life outside of my actions, that they weren't just waiting for me to talk to them. They were actually doing things. Like, if I didn't show up for a conversation in time, like, I could just have, like, not get that conversation at all. Or maybe they got, hunted by bandits, and I could have saved them at some point if I just kind of rushed over to that area beforehand instead of just lollygaggling around. So that's the one thing I like about Baldur's Gate, is that it does it wants you to explore the game, but then it also makes you feel as if time is still moving forward. So lay your path out appropriately. Like, it's not like a typical video game, right? It's real life. If someone is held hostage and you go, "Oh, well, there's like 10 side quests I wanted to take care of real quick, and let me go level grind real fast, and then I'll come back to this." Right? Like, that's not real life. That person's dead, right? And if you do that in Baldur's Gate, there's a high possibility that, yeah, that person will be dead, and it could lock out some conversations. But there's ways around that, with speak with dead spells and all that. So there's a lot baked into this, and they did such an amazing job with the mechanics, the looks, all of it. I adore Baldur's Gate. But as far as like story stuff and all that, and going over playthrough styles and who we had on our campaign and everything, I figure we'll just hold that off to a full Baldur's Gate episode, so we can get into like the nitty gritties and things like that. But yeah, it's no surprise that this is at the top of my list. And I mean, it's at the top of almost everybody's list at this point. So yeah, it was a great title.
Yeah, it's not that I'm intimidated by the game. I'm always interested in these kind of games. It's more some like a part of me there's people I know that want to play co-op. So I'm like, oh, that'd be great. I'm also thinking, just like real life D&D, we all have to be there,
Yeah. How often can you
and
get the
I don't
party
want to.
together? Yeah.
And this is one of those games where like I've already played a little bit, right? Like I've been playing a Dark Urge character, though I've been putting it off for other games. So
Mhm.
I'm still really early in the game, but the little bit that I played, I've loved it. Like I want to experience it more. I don't know in the end if I want this Dark Urge character to be the first character I beat the game with, just because I haven't been playing totally evil, just because I do want to have all my party members.
Mhm.
But now that I'm like thinking, oh, I'll just play nicely in my co-op session, I'm like, oh, I'll just be totally evil.
Mm.
But I love that this game being evil, it's like you can be really, really good, bad, or really, really bad. And it's something that I like. It's like I can be really evil if I want to be.
Mhm.
And it it does, like I said before, it doesn't intimidate me. It just makes me think like, oh, I really want to see everything. And I know this is one of those games that it's like, oh, you can't see everything on your first run, but
You
I
can see
want
a
to.
lot. You can still see a lot, but yeah, you can't see everything.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, maybe I should just like make my first playthrough kind of neutral good. But yeah, I'm playing Warlock for my Dark Urge, and I really, really like my character a lot. Like I feel like my team is like really strong for what I was doing,
Mhm.
but I know that once I get into it, I'll be sucked in. That's why I'm like, I don't want to have to wait for other people.
Right.
Like this, I'm fine doing that with other games, but with this game, it's like I want to spend my day off playing 8 hours of this, right? Like
Mhm.
it's not one of those games where I'm like, okay, let's play together for 2 hours and then put it down, because I'm
No,
like,
it's not enough time.
no, I want
Yeah.
more. The 1 hour is going to get me through the menus.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
it every time I've played it, it's like I'll put in 4 hours and I'm like, oh my god, I barely have left this map. Like
Mhm.
I just got out of the ruins. Like it's insane. Like the amount, and I mean, my knowledge in computer RPGs like this is very low. Right, I've always been more of a Japanese role playing game person, or even just like Western RPGs, like shooters like Fallout and stuff. Like I've always been more on that side. So when it comes to this isometric top down turn based, it's still kind of new to me, but I like it. It is very different from finding a random battle. Like I love turn based, and honestly the past few months I've been getting a lot more into them again.
Mhm.
And it's kind of looking over, everyone's list obviously has this game at the top. But when it won at the Game Awards, there were so many people like, how did this win? Like it's turn based. And it's interesting because you look at a lot of people, and like granted, a majority, a lot of people love this game, but there's still a huge amount of people out there that hate turn based games. So
Mhm.
it's fascinating how well this game did. And I'm always like, I love all kinds of games, but turn based for me, it's always kind of like not just nostalgic, but I like planning. I like thinking. And this game, it, from the little battles that I've done, I love the strategy in this.
Mhm.
It's like XCOM, but, a little bit faster paced and cooler. And I'm really excited to finally jump into it and see everything about it. I after hearing about the huge epilogue that they just put in, I'm like
Yeah, that
thinking,
makes me
oh,
want
it's
to play it
perfect that I waited
again.
off.
I know. I'm bummed. I went in after one of the patches. I got to the end
Mm-hmm.
and I got a little bit more, but now it's like, crap. They added even more to the ending. Now I need to play it again. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it blows my mind that people are like, really turn based this game won. I mean, 22 million copies were sold.
Mm-hmm.
22 million. That's insane. And when you compare it to something like Final Fantasy 16, which is an amazing title and I didn't talk about it during the honorable mentions. It's been kind of floating in between, right? Like my game of the years, my top threes, because that definitely was one of my favorite games as well. So I wish I put it in honorable mentions, but that only sold 4 million copies. So 22 million versus 4 million when it comes to like a massive RPG game, like that speaks bounds, man. It's crazy. So,
You want to know something crazy?
mm-hmm,
22 million copies, right?
mm-hmm,
Think about this. In the state of California, there's almost 40 million people living here.
mm-hmm.
Imagine if half of a whole big state just play a Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Like, more copies sold than most people live in other states. It's bonkers.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the fact that they're still adding to it, right? They're still making changes and they're actually listening to the fan base and adding things in, like these like the added epilogues, because they actually had that epilogue in beforehand, but they took it out because they felt that it took too long and it took away from the win that you just accomplished. And the fact that players wanted more, they're like, "Oh crap. Well, let's polish this up and let's give you more." Like everybody just wants more. So it's great that they are listening, which is nice.
Do you think Act 3 still needs work? Because that was something I kept hearing.
A little bit from my playthrough, yeah, because Act 1 and 2 had components of it where like you felt like you actually had to work on this, right? Like there was a time frame. But when you walk into Act 3, the first thing it says is like, "Oh, well, like you need to go talk to this guy." It's like, "Okay, cool." Like it's during his coronation ceremony, right? He's being deemed the duke or whatever of Baldur's Gate. It's like, "Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great. Sounds wonderful." I went back 15 hours later. I was like, whatever, man. And they're still in the coronation hall, right? Like stuff like that. Whereas, like for the rest of the game, that whole situation would have played out no problem. But for some reason, that they make it so that like it's okay to just keep going. Like, don't worry about it. You can come back whenever you feel like it, kind of thing, right? So it was kind of interesting. I kind of wish that it had forced me to at least go to the ceremony because it's not like it led or locked out anything going to it. It was just a conversation that was had and kind of it just added more to the lore itself. But I was worried that it might lead to a fight, so I just kind of avoided it and explored as much as I possibly could, which turns out to be the entirety of Act 3 up until that point. Right. So I did
I see.
absolutely everything and then I went and did that. So that was the only time in which it felt more like older games and not like the pacing that Baldur's Gate has had from Act 1 and 2. That's what I would say. But besides that, I mean Act 3 had a lot in it, like a lot of stuff, but you had to kind of go and look for it. It wasn't really like laid out in front of you super well, I would say. But still very fun. I mean, just going around actual Baldur's Gate was great. So, yeah. We'll see if they'll be able to change that up. I mean, they're going to keep adding stuff to it and everything. So it's kind of a hard, like, especially with this day and age, it's hard to like pick a good time to go into a game, right? Because it's same thing with Cyberpunk, right? It's you played it in the very beginning, and then all of a sudden this DLC comes out and it changes the whole game because it's like smack dab in the middle of the playthrough. It's not like a tack on at the end or anything like that. And with these updates that Baldur's Gate is giving, it's stuff that changes the core gameplay itself, right? And then also adds things at the end for the people who have beaten it. So it's kind of like, oh well, I would have or would I have enjoyed that during my initial playthrough, right? So it's kind of I would just say just jump in now because it doesn't really matter. It's still an amazing game. And then you can always revisit later if you really want to. That's what I would say. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. We have talked about some big titles. We talked about Space for the Unbound, Void Stranger, Cyberpunk, Phantom Liberty, El Paso Elsewhere, Alan Wake 2, and Baldur's Gate 3, which are, our picks for top games of this year. And it has been an amazing year in gaming. And we're just excited to see that trend continue into 2024. Hopefully, these games keep getting bigger and bigger as they move along. So, we're pretty excited. And for the next episode, just a little sneak peek teaser into it. We're going to be discussing some of our goals for 2024, what games we're excited about, what games we want to revisit, things like that. So it's going to be a nice little recap of 2023 and a goals of 2024 episode to harken the new year. So we will talk to you guys then, and until then, bye for now.